Okay, and you'll see that on the previous page, there's activity 7. Okay, I have your names here, so I'm going to follow along with that. And we're going to do 2 things simultaneously. So I want to read through the text as a class. So probably not everyone will get a chance to read, but we'll read 1 paragraph at a time. And we'll pause after the blanks, so you can work with the person next to you to fill in the blank. So the blanks will all be filled in with a sentence from this list. And we should decide where each sentence should go. But first, let's talk about some strategies for good ways to figure out which is the appropriate sentence. So what I noticed first when I looked at this passage is that actually 3 of the 5 sentences that are the blanks, right, are at the ends of paragraphs. Right? Do you see what I mean? Number 1, number 2, and number 4. These blanks are all at the final sentence of the paragraph. So let's quickly review. What should the final sentence of the paragraph do? What is the function, the job, of the final sentence in a paragraph?
To sum up.
Maybe to sum up. What else could be? So summing up is definitely one function. You might find the last sentence of the paragraph summarizes what the paragraph was about. What else could be its function? What if you have another paragraph the next? Okay, maybe to make some kind of conclusion about what you said in the paragraph. To give an overview, okay? Sure, that's similar.
To link with the next paragraph.
Yeah, to link with the next paragraph. Okay, so we had a summary or overview, maybe making some conclusions about what was in the paragraph, or like a transition from that paragraph to the next one. Okay, so keep that in your mind. Thinking about the function of this sentence will help you choose the right one. Okay? And the next thing I want to talk about just really quick is maybe you've heard about something called maybe in like your rhetoric class, you've heard about something called the flow of information. So often when we're writing sentences, we'll put the new information in the second half of the sentence. So a sentence might start with some old information, plus some new information, and then the next sentence might, this is not always, but it's a very typical way to organize your sentence so it's easy for the reader to understand what you're talking about. So old to new, and then again you have old to new. And very often, if we're trying to make our writing easy to understand, maybe not always, sometimes we're trying to make it sound fancy and difficult, this new information from one sentence can become the old information from the new sentence. Okay? So let me think of an example. I might say something like, snow and rain are different types of precipitation. Right? You guys know precipitation is any water that's falling from the sky. Precipitation is important for farming. Okay, so I've had the first information here was from the previous sentence. So that's another way that information is organized, and that can also help us decide which sentence to put in the blank. If you're taking any English test, like standardized test, this could be helpful strategies for you. So pay attention to this. All right, so we'll see how to apply these strategies as we read. Who would like to start reading? Go ahead.
In a democratic society, citizens are encouraged to form their own opinions on candidates for public office, taxes, constitutional amendments, environment concerns, foreign policy, and other issues.
Great. Okay, and then let's read the first sentence of the next paragraph.
Wealthy people tend to think differently on social issues from poor people.
All right, so we have a sentence at the end of the paragraph. What was the first paragraph about?
Election.
Okay, it wasn't just about elections, though.
Opinions that form people.
Yeah, it's about the things that people have opinions about. So it's kind of an introduction. And then the next paragraph looks like what, based on the first sentence?
Difference between social.
Okay, so what people in different social groups might think, what different types of people might think. So can we find a sentence that links maybe from something that the first paragraph was about into something that the second paragraph was about? You can talk to your partner and try to find the right answer. And whichever group of two thinks you have the correct answer, then just raise your hand. If you think you have the answer, you can raise your hand. Yeah, you think you have it? What do you think?
Maybe it's the opinion held by any population that are shaped and manipulated by several factors, individual circumstances, the mass media, special interest groups, and opinion leaders.
Yeah, I think you're correct. That was also the one that I chose. And why did you choose that one?
Because some opinions are shaped by different sources.
Okay, you're just repeating, but you're just repeating the sentence. That's not why you chose it. That's what the sentence says. But why did you choose that one?
I have my method that because the previous sentence depicts the, as you have said, the old information. In new sentence, it's
oh yeah, okay, that's one good reason. So you see, this sentence starts with the word "the opinions held by any population," and in the first paragraph, we enumerated, right, listed all the things that a population might have opinions about. What's one more reason? What does this sentence look like it has to do with the next paragraph? Is it a good transition sentence? Does it make a good transition from one paragraph to the other? Yeah, why?
Because it generalizes.
Generalizes. Yeah.
Generalizes, yes, the next.
It generalizes the next one.
The next is more specialized. It deals with the differences between poor people and people with better needs.
Yeah, so this sentence says that your public opinions could be shaped by different factors, and we notice that the next sentence goes into several factors, right? Wealthy, right? How much money you have, where you work. I guess I wouldn't go into it too much because we haven't read it yet. All right, who wants to read the next? Maybe one of you two can read the next one. Go ahead.
Wealthy people tend to think differently on social issues from poor people. Factory workers probably do not share the same views as white collar.
White collar.
White collar.
Do you know why we call them white collar?
Collar. Not to say color.
Collar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have a white collar.
We also got.
Because who wears these kind of shirts?
Workers.
Office.
Yeah, an office. Yeah.
Non-union workers. Women employed outside their homes sometimes have a perspective different from those of full-time homemakers.
All right. And so now with your partner, try and choose what sentence do you think should go in that blank. If you need to, look at the beginning of the next paragraph. It could give you a clue. Or maybe it's just a summary type sentence. Raise your hand when you think you're ready. Nancy?
I think this sentence we should use in place the number G. Said in this and other way individual status shapes one's view of current events.
Yeah, I think you're correct. And why did you choose that sentence?
It's because if you look about what Tanya is just reading, especially in this paragraph 2, is try to compare and contrast between the people who are poor and who are not poor, and also other women who work and other women who doesn't work.
So it's talking about the different ways different people might have different opinions.
Because what influences people to think this maybe is because of their current situation.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And so this sentence is what? Do you think it's a transition or summary?
It's a summary.
Yeah, it's a summary. Exactly. Fantastic. Okay, and this one's really long, so maybe we'll have 2 volunteers. So maybe you two can kind of split it in half and share between the 2 of you.
Mass media, especially television.
Nice and loud with beautiful enunciation, so everyone can hear.
The mass media, especially television, are powerful influences on the way people think and act. Government officials note how mail from the public tends to follow their headlines. Whatever is featured in newspapers and magazines and on television attracts enough attention that people begin to inform themselves and to express opinions.
Okay, you can pause. mail from the public tends to follow the headlines. What do you think that means? Obviously people aren't following the headlines on foot, but what are they doing?
Headlines of newspapers,
Okay.
mass media.
And what do the headlines, the mail from the public, maybe at this point it's email. So sometimes like government officials will receive mail or emails or some kind of message from the people, right? And what do they mean when these messages follow the headlines?
They're expressing the needs of the society, so they're writing about some events of what in which these men were involved.
But what do you think people are writing about if they're following the headlines? What are headlines?
News.
It's the titles, yeah, exactly. It's the titles at the top of newspaper article or magazine article or blog, maybe.
For
So
example,
people are following the headlines, are they,
commenting on some
what topics are they writing about?
up-to-date something.
Okay, up to date, the topics they find where?
In media.
Yeah.
They're commenting on some media events.
Right, so,
For example, saying it was disgusting or it was great.
Mhm.
Giving support or telling that it wasn't okay.
Right, so we can't, as the people, like regular citizens, we probably don't know everything that goes on in the government and public relations and politics. We know what we get from the media, right? And so that shows what a big influence the media has on us.
Mostly, if you look nowadays, for me, if I look in the media, mostly it's politics, it's either celebrities, those who are well-known people. Nowadays, people don't, even if the newspaper try to tell us about what is happening to other people, even the people is not well known by other people, they tend not to ignore those stories. So people are now attracted by public figures, whether in politics or economic or even in social life or religion.
That's what you're seeing ahead in the passage, because they're going to talk about that in the next paragraph, the public figures. That's a very good point. That will be coming up soon. Okay, and from where she left off, the mass media.
The mass media have also created larger audiences for government and a wider range of public issues than existed before. Prior to television and national editions of newspapers, issues and candidates tended to remain localized. In Great Britain and West Germany, for example, elections to the national legislatures were usually viewed by voters and local contests.
Okay. This one's a little difficult, I think. And kind of, we won't read any further because the next sentence in the passage kind of takes on to like a little bit different topic. But they've told you about issues and politics in the past. So can you guess what they might tell you about next?
About today's elections.
About today's, yeah. So which sentence do you think goes in the blank?
Today's elections are seen as struggles between party leaders and programs.
Yeah, it's letter E. Right? So they're contrasting. Now, you know what I would like in this spot? Let me see what that is. Oh, I'm keeping you too long. I would like there to be a transition word here, because to me the connection between ideas is not very clear. Right? Do you see what I mean? I want
To add some,
to add a word at the beginning of this sentence.
but today,
Yeah, but today, that works well, but today, or however, right? Can you think of another word? However, but?
Moreover,
Moreover.
furthermore.
I don't know if I like those as much because moreover and furthermore usually introduce a similar idea. Here we're showing a little bit of contrast.
Okay.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like we're contrasting how it was in the past and how it is today. I think however, but.
Or maybe in contrast.
In contrast, yeah, perfect. Exactly. So I think that makes, we see here, I thought it was a little hard to understand the relationship between the ideas without one of those words. It makes it more clear to me. Do you understand why I want to put that there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're out of time, yeah? Or we're past out of time, is that correct? Or no, do we go until 3:30? Oh, we go until 3:30. I'm sorry, I don't know. I always teach the next class, so I got lost. We still have time. Okay, and let's keep going. So next, Aliona.
in
In the United States, radio and television have been beneficial to the presidency. Since the days of Franklin Roosevelt and his fireside chats, presidents have appealed directly to a national audience or the heads of Congress to advocate their programs. Special internet groups spend vast sums annually trying to influence public opinion. Public utilities, for instance, strive to sway public opinion in favor of nuclear power plants. Opposite to them were citizens' organizations that lobbied to halt the use of nuclear power.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've given. What were the previous sentences doing? They were giving what kind of information? Generalized information or examples?
Examples.
Yeah, they were giving examples. So some of the examples were presidents, public utilities, special interest groups. So in this sentence, is the last sentence of the paragraph. What might you expect to find there?
One more example.
It could be one more example. It could be maybe a summary, it could be a transition, or it could be one more example. So let's see, which one do you think goes there? There's only two choices left.
It's B.
Yes, I think you're correct. It's B. And why did you? Will you read B to us and then tell us why you chose it?
During the 60s, the American Medical Association conducted an unsuccessful advertising campaign designed to prevent the passage of Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
It's one more example of bad advertising.
Yeah. So we might, usually we might expect at the end of the paragraph to see summary or transition, but since we've got a whole list of examples, I think it's makes sense that we would have one more example. Okay? And obviously the last one we already know, but maybe Julia can read the last paragraph with the correct sentence in its place. Okay?
Opinion leaders are usually such prominent public figures as politicians, show business personalities, and celebrity athletes. The opinion of these individuals, whether informed and intelligent or not, carry weight with some segments of the population. So I think it is A.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is very good information about noble. Some individuals, such as Nobel Prize winners, are suddenly thrust into public view by the media. By quickly researching a large audience, their views gain a hearing and are perhaps influential in sharing views on complex issues.
Okay. By quickly reaching a large audience, right? We can say that's an idiom in English, to reach an audience. We're not really reaching them, but with our words, maybe reaching them. Okay. And why does letter A work well in blank 5? Scientist, right? But most of us don't know the names of very many scientists until they get the Nobel Prize, right? And suddenly they're famous, like overnight, suddenly famous. So that's why we say they're suddenly thrust into the public eye, right? And then whatever they say, people will take it seriously, So it's an interesting situation. So we see the previous sentence was a generalization, right? It says, in general, right, some people, some individuals who are famous, whatever they say, people will take it very seriously. And then it gives an example. For example, these Nobel Prize winners. Suddenly they're famous, and now whatever they say, everyone's going to hear about it, right? Okay, the last thing I want you to do is, well, actually 2 things. I think we have time. So, number 1 is go through the paragraph. We did this once as a group, right? For number 3, we added a word. We thought maybe but, or however, or in contrast would help that sentence fit in a little better, right? Make sense with the other sentences. So my first question for you is, can you find any other places where we put in these new sentences that you might add a transition word, right? A logical word that talks about the relationship between the ideas to connect the sentences a little more nicely.
On the first one we can add also.
On the first one we could add also. Okay, so the answer to the first one was C. And why do you want to add also there?
Some additional information to this paragraph, summing up and adding, for example.
Okay, sure. Any other ideas? Would you put a word there? Do you think it doesn't need one, or could you think of one that might go there? This is a case where you might use the words that you suggested. So Nancy, you said moreover and furthermore. That might work here because we're giving additional information on the same topic, right? What about number 2? Could you think of one for number 2, or do you think it's unnecessary there?
We can add so in this and other ways.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so in these and other ways. I want to make one point about the word so. It's a little bit lower, it's not very formal. So it's common maybe in speech or journalism, right, like newspapers, magazines, but in academic writing, like very serious writing for the university, it's not usually used at the beginning of the sentence.
What about you?
Hence, oh yes, that already sounds like you're a lawyer, like you're extremely formal. So we had 2 variants, it depends on your audience, right? If you want to sound very friendly, down to earth, right, casual, you might use so. If you want to sound extremely intelligent, proper, serious, you might use hence. Yeah.
Or what about if you use nevertheless?
Nevertheless, let's see. I have to, nevertheless.
Something to manage.
I don't know if that really works for me. Nevertheless, what kind of meaning does that have? It usually introduces an exception.
An exception.
Yeah, like something you wouldn't expect. So it's raining, nevertheless, I'm going to play tennis.
Because it seems like it's still the same idea here between the end of paragraph 2 and the third one.
Mm-hmm.
So as it is still the same idea, maybe if you use such a word.
Nevertheless usually shows some kind of contrast or something unexpected. Yeah, unexpected. If since this is a summary, we might use what's a word we could use to introduce a summary of what came before?
Sum up.
To sum up, comma.
Sum up, okay.
In summary, in conclusion. It sounds funny to say in conclusion, it's not the end. Any other ones? What about number 5? We're introducing an example. We could use for example. What else could we use?
For instance.
For instance, sure.
By the way.
By the way. I don't know about by the way.
To illustrate this.
To illustrate, yeah, to illustrate, or maybe specifically. Sure. Yeah, those are all words that could introduce examples. And then number 4 was also an example, so we might use some similar words. All right, last task, and we have plenty of time, is to go through the text and see if you can find some kind of like cliche or idiomatic expressions. And then use this expression to make your own example. So let's do one together. Is there in the first paragraph, maybe we'll look at the first 2 paragraphs because I expect maybe there isn't one in every paragraph. Do you see any like set of words that you think you could use in your own writing? It could be some useful vocabulary or an idiom or maybe just a useful sentence structure.
White collar.
So the word white collar workers. Yeah, maybe that's something you didn't know before. Can you use it in your own sentence?
Okay.
Can you try to make a sentence using that vocabulary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can take your time to think if you take time to think. Anyone else can think about it too. Can you make your own sentence using the new vocabulary, white collar workers?
I do have something like word box. We say that the офисный червь или там такое. We have also some states, idioms that are represented by such kind of workers, but we call them, for example, office rats or.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Book this kind of.
do, but I can't think of it right now.
No, bookworms, for example.
Oh, bookworms. Yeah. That's the one. That sound that are like made from animals? Probably we do. Sometimes we say a gym rat. It's someone who goes to the gym, the sportzaal, like all the time. It's just a gym rat. Can anyone make a sentence using white collar? Not in the sense of, that type of office worker. Who do you think is on the subway every morning in New York?
First of all, what is the meaning of white collar?
White collar. So white collar is like what Javier
Office
is.
workers.
Yeah.
I understand that, but
Yeah. But it means, so we call the people who work in offices white collar workers, because often these people wear a shirt with a white collar. It's just because of what they wear.
Okay.
Of course, they can wear any color shirt they want, but I
For
guess
example,
normally the shirt's always white.
being a white collar is something like a lifelong solitary confinement.
Being a white collar worker. Yeah, so it's like an adjective.
It's
Being a white.
something like lifelong solitary confinement.
That's a wonderful sentence. It's kind of sad, but that's wonderful. Okay, so each pair, try to find one vocabulary item or idiom or what else did I say? Cliche, some kind of cliche or expression that you want to use in your own sentence. And then we'll share them with the group. It's the last thing. Okay, I can come help you if you need help. Find one. Lifelong solitary confinement. You can work together. You can talk. You don't have to work alone. Unless you want to.
And what is Roosevelt's fireside chat?
Fireside chat. So President Roosevelt during World War II, he would go on the radio and speak to the whole nation every evening. This was called fires, as if he was sitting by the fireside and talking comfortably with. Talking comfortably with all the regular people. But it kind of unified the nation. It's this famous thing, unify the nation, make everyone feel more safe, because it's a very time of a lot of anxiety and fear. So he used his appearance on the radio to make everyone have patriotic feelings and feel, I don't know, more part of the solution. Yeah, maybe protected or they knew what was going on. They weren't confused. I can read it already. What did you find anything interesting?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Follow the headlines. Yeah. We can use that expression in abstract way to follow something in a lot of ways in English. I can say, do you follow FIFA soccer? Do you follow Manchester United? I can say. It means do you watch all their games, right?
Or maybe when some people talk about some theme, or and you can ask, do you follow the theme also?
What do you mean? The theme of?
No,
any kind of topic.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do you follow politics? Do you follow? I don't know. Yeah, it could be any topic that might show up in the news. You could follow it. It doesn't mean physically follow it. All right, who's ready with an example for me? Are you ready? I'll share mine first. All right, so my idiom that I picked out was to be a powerful influence on somebody or something. Okay? It could be a person or a thing. So I could say Justin Bieber is or has, it could be either one, a powerful influence on teenagers in the US. It's too bad. Or it doesn't have to be a person. I could say the Twilight series of books and movies has been a powerful influence on teenagers in the US. Teenage girls, maybe. In the US. And on the US culture in general. For some reason we have a weird obsession with vampires.
We don't have our own Justin Bieber.
Oh, well, you know what? It's probably good. It's okay. Okay, so who picked out an idiom or a vocabulary word or collocation from the text that you want to try in your own sentence? I hope everyone did. Okay, I think these guys in the front are
If you want.
nice and loud so like the whole class can. First tell us what was your selection and how did you?
My selection was to follow the headlines. If you want to find some good house for you, you should follow the headlines of the ads.
Yeah, those kind of ads are called classifieds.
Classified.
Yeah, they're called classifieds. You should follow the classifieds, you might say.
Yes.
Have you heard that word before? Classified ads? Yeah, it's special ads that like just like community people put up, like, oh, I want to sell my car, I want to sell my house. They're called classified ads. I don't know why.
These ads that's like on the house.
Yeah, for houses or cars, or maybe you would want to sell some furniture.
On the streets. No.
Ah, no, it's in the newspaper.
In the newspaper.
Yeah, it can be in the newspaper. Or online now, like, you have them online. Very good. You should, so to follow something means to keep careful track of it, right? Maybe not physically, like I'm following a wild animal, but you can follow headlines or advertisements. You can follow a soccer team. Sure.
If you are not alone in your specific unique interest, it's a reason to create a special interest group.
Ah, a special interest group. Uh-huh. So, yeah, all right, I see what you mean. You mean a group of people who are interested in the same
if
thing.
You are not one,
Do you know the special way that the word do you know the particular way that the word or the expression special interest group is used in politics?
Some coalition.
It has a little bit different meaning.
It's, for example, coalition for promoting some laws.
So it kind of has a negative connotation. Do you know what I mean by a negative connotation? Like it's kind of a bad thing.
Black PR?
Yeah, so a special interest group in politics, right? So it doesn't mean like a club of people who are interested in the same thing as you, like knitting or something. It means, say, the oil industry wants to have lower taxes and more profits for the oil industry. So that's a special interest group. They have a special interest. They're interested in themselves, in making a benefit for themselves, and they try to influence politics. Okay?
Something like monopolizing?
It's not exactly a monopoly, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like the industry gets together and it's a special interest group. It doesn't have to be something bad, right? Like pet owners could be a special interest group.
Defending their
But usually it's used in the context of politics. So people who, because they share this interest, want to have some influence on politics to benefit their sphere of interest. Right? It doesn't have to be bad. It's often used in a negative way.
We have so with marshutkas.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a special interest group for marshutkas.
Yeah, they have increased prices. So everyone was saying that I want to write someone in that price, and they just got a special group interest. There were some protests, and I couldn't get to university that day.
Okay, so yeah, so people who drive marshutkas might be a special interest group. They have a special interest in making a profit on their marshutkas, and therefore they will try to do things to benefit their entire group. Yeah. Okay, these two? What was your expression first?
Our expressions is to reach a large audience.
Mm-hmm.
So successful speakers should employ communication skills to reach a large audience and to be estimated.
Excellent. I think it's pretty clear what that means, and your sentence was very good. Okay, girls in the back. Well, you didn't find one in the whole passage? Maybe you'll find one for the next class. Julia will remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you
So
do?
our expression is to gain a hearing.
To gain a hearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the sentence is establishing public relations can gain the hearing of local authorities.
Okay. I like your expression. I think you understand what it means, but I want to change your sentence a little bit. So only a person or like a group of people could gain a hearing.
It
So
depends.
what was the subject of your sentence?
establishing the public relations.
Okay, so maybe we're going to add something. So establishing public relations can help who gain a hearing?
For example, workers.
Okay.
Like that.
Workers or a company,
A company,
right?
yeah.
And so establishing public relations can help a company gain a hearing with the public.